1190 AM in New York. We're streaming to you across the country on a number of platforms, including Facebook and nationalactionnetwork.net. We are live right here in the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street. Call somebody. Tell them the action is on the air. The Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton is in the house and getting ready to come to you. We're so pleased that you are with us on this Saturday morning, because if it's Saturday, this is where the action is. Our president and founder is the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. The chairman of our board is the Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, senior pastor of Grace Baptist Church in Mount Vernon, New York. I'm attorney Michael Hardy. Will be with you throughout the broadcast this morning. We are so pleased today to have one of our Harlem greats for our inspirational word today, the Reverend Michael A. Waldron, senior pastor of First Corinthian Baptist Church right here in the great village of Harlem, will be with us today. We'll have several special guests, including the great Judge Greg Mathis, former Michigan 36th District Court and television show arbitrator and author, and of course, as always, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton is in the house, right here at the House of Justice. So call somebody, tell them the action is on the air. The Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton is in the house and getting ready to come to you. And it will be a packed Saturday. And as we say, you just never know who may be here on a Saturday morning here at the House of Justice. Hey, we want to remind everyone that during the Saturday Action Rally, the Youth Huddle the Youth Huddle experience will resume live at the House of Justice Auditorium on Monday, June 6th at 6 p.m. Please spread the word and get into the action with our youngest and brightest dreamers of today and leaders of tomorrow. For more information on the Youth Huddle experience, you can call us at 877-626-4651 or email nan@youthhuddle@gmail.com. We also know that today, as always on Saturday, our dear sister Katrina Jefferson will be here asking you what's on your mind. If you haven't had a chance to speak with her yet, you can still email her at what's on your mind at nationalactionnetwork.net or call 877-626-4651 and let her know what's on your mind, and she'll be up with us soon. Of course, if it's Saturday, our musical director is always in the house, Minister Tyrone Richardson, and it's Saturday, so 5 o'clock today, 5 o'clock tomorrow, Sunday. So Saturday at 5 p.m., Sunday at 5 p.m., we urge you to tune in to MSNBC's Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. That's Saturday at 5 p.m., Sunday at 5 p.m. Tune in to MSNBC's Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. But right now, brothers and sisters, Dr. Alvin Ponder, Vice President of the New York City chapter, will come with some additional information for you.
Thank you, Attorney Hardy. Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to another Saturday Action Rally with the National Action Network. Here's some information to keep you in the know. Healing in Buffalo. Reverend Al Sharpton spoke last Saturday at the funeral of Ruth Whitfield at the request of her family, and attorney Ben Crump delivered a call to action. Mrs. Whitfield, age 86, was one of 10 people killed when a body armor-clad gunman opened fire at a Tops Friendly Markets on May 14th. The mother of four had stopped at the grocery store on her way home from a regular visit to her husband, who lives in a nearby nursing home. The gunman live streamed from a camera mounted on his helmet the horrific shooting, during which 13 people in total were shot, 11 of whom were black. Authorities said he had researched parts of New York State with the highest concentration of black residents before posting an 180-page racist tirade online. The shooting has left the city of Buffalo and the nation shaken. Reverend Sharpton and Attorney Crump, counsel to the Whitfield family, joined with relatives of several victims to call on federal action against white supremacist acts. The National Action Network has been on the ground. We have been on the ground since the shooting, supporting its Buffalo NAN chapter, because Tops was the only grocery store in what happens to be a food desert in Buffalo, New York. The National Action Network has opened a food distribution site on Wednesdays at the Greater Works Christian Fellowship Church located at 210 Southampton Street. At the Greater Works Christian Fellowship Church located at 210 Southampton Street in Buffalo. And in partnership with the World Central Kitchen, the Baptist Ministers Conference of Buffalo, and other community partners, the site will be open again on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. to provide free food while the supplies last. NAN partners with Foundation to raise awareness about black health. Join Taraji P. Henson's Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation for their Can We Talk and Joy Awards event today. The Can We Talk Symposium and Joy Awards will honor those who advocate for mental health in communities of color. After facing a worldwide pandemic, a rise in violence across the nation, inflation, and the triggers of just being black in America, mental health in the black communities mental health in the black communities is the utmost importance. The National Action Network is committed to centering black health equity at the top of our health and wellness efforts, and we're happy to be a partner in this event. We will have a virtual booth highlighting all of the work that we've been committed to over the past 3 decades. Tune in today and make sure to register at BorisLHensonFoundation.org. That's Boris, spelled B-O-R-I-S-L, Henson, H-E-N-S-O-N, Foundation.org, where you can also go for more information. Welcome to all of you who have tuned in and joined us also live via live stream at www.nationalactionnetwork.net and also live on Facebook at National Action Network. If this is your first time joining us, or if you're not a member at NAN, we welcome you to NAN and invite you to join us and get to the action today. For more information and to join, you may visit www.nationalactionnetwork.net or call 877-626-4651. Again, that's 877-626-4651, or text the word NAN, N-A-N, to 59769. Welcome.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ponder. Right now, brothers and sisters, it is our coordinator and advisor here at the House of Justice in the Village of Harlem, and she wants to know what's on your mind. That is the one and only Katrina Jefferson. Good morning.
Good morning, Attorney Hardy, and good morning to each and every one of you who are here live here at the fantastic House of Justice, to those that are listening by way of WLIB 1190 AM, and to those that are watching by way of live streaming on our Facebook page or our website. Welcome to another weekend's conversation of What's on Your Mind, where you, the people, you, the community, have the opportunity to interact with the National Action Network 24 hours a day by emailing us at whatsonyourmind@nationalactionnetwork.net. Again, that email address is whatsonyourmind@nationalactionnetwork.net, or you may call us at 877-626-4651. We want to hear from you, whether it's something you overheard on the news or your perspective on a conversation you heard while you're in transit. This is the platform for you. Good morning. Give us your name, let us know where you're from, and briefly share with us what's on your mind.
Good morning. My name is Brenda Ricketts, and I'm from Yonkers, New York. What's on my mind is family. Last year, I spent a month in North Carolina researching my ancestors. I met with great success. Tomorrow, I leave on a trip to Senegal, Guinea, and Sierra Leone in West Africa. I will make contact with members of my ancestral tribe, attending people of Sierra Leone. It has been over 400 years since they stole our families from West Africa. I'd like my Mann family to remember me in their prayers as I embark on my spiritual journey of reconnection.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That was coming from Brenda Ricketts, one of our faithful members here at the National Action Network. Good morning. Give us your name, briefly share with us where you're from, and tell us what's on your mind.
My name is Claude Jasper Herbert Jr., and I just had a short poem I'd like to recite, if I might. We have faith in old proverbs full surely, for wisdom has traced what they tell. For wisdom has traced what they tell, and truth can be brought up as purely from them as it may from a well. Let us ask the thinkers and doers and hear what they honestly say. You will find that they believe, like bold wooers, in where there's a will, there's a way. The hills have been high for man's mounting, and the woods have been dense for his axe. The stars have been thick for his counting, and the stars have been thick for his counting, and the sands have been wide for his tracks. Let us question the thinkers and doers and see what they honestly say, and you'll find they believe, like bold wooers, and where there's a will, there's a way.
Thank you so much for sharing. Good morning. Give us your name, briefly share with us where you're from, and tell us what's on your mind.
Good day, everybody, and God bless everybody. My name is Sister Reverend Word. I'm from heaven, born in Harlem. I'm 71 years old and new, and I'm a damn lifetime member. What's on my mind is scriptures, always Bible scriptures. Obviously, we know good and evil. I've heard a lot of politicians use the word sick. That's not a substitute for evil. We need these A&R rifles controlled, along with other weapons, but particularly A&R automatic rifles. A politician must know the word evil applies to anyone who does not want those guns controlled. We must do our best to vote for people who really are for public safety. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that concludes another weekend's conversation of What's on Your Mind. Keep in mind, everything that you heard here was simply the thoughts and the viewpoints of the contributors and do not reflect those of the National Action Network directly. And we invite you to engage with us 24 hours a day by emailing us at whatsonyourmind@nationalactionnetwork.net. Again, that email address is whatsonyourmind@nationalactionnetwork.net, or you may call us at 877-626-4651, or you may make your way to the House of Justice at 106 West 145th Street in the village of Harlem. We'll see you next week. Back to you, Attorney Hardy.
All right, thank you, Katrina Jefferson, for What's on Your Mind. So appreciated. Right now, brothers and sisters, we're going to come in the House. In the House is all about the work of committees that are here and operating out of the House of Justice. And one of those committees is the Interpreters Committee, and it is clearly one of the most impactful committees here at the House of Justice and across the nation for the work that they do and the impact that they have had. Chris Dudley is not only the founder, but the chairperson of the National Action Network's Interpreters Committee, and she's coming to you right now.
Hosteen Dudley, President of the Interpreter Advocates Committee and advisor to the House of Justice Deaf Club. It is good to be back as a living witness that God is still performing miracles. During my unexpected illness, I am thankful to our committed interpreters, interpreting the Saturday rallies on Zoom. Understanding the consequences of face-to-face interaction with possible exposure to COVID and what that could mean for them, our deaf members requested the virtual platform. You may not see us or our deaf and hard of hearing participants, but as they receive valuable information and are educated about local and worldwide events, NAN's responses, and inspirational teachings, they can see you and hear about your committee work. Our second component is hosting bi-weekly workshops. Our Deaf Club leaders contact deaf presenters who are qualified, known professionals in their field. Hearing individuals join us as observers to learn from a deaf perspective. The only language used is American Sign Language. We heard about a Black deaf woman's journey, her experiences and struggles navigating a new culture as she migrated to the United States. She spoke about defying bumps and hurdles while traveling back and forth to African countries to share important information to the marginalized. Workshops were hosted where deaf immigrants who had escaped from Cuba and Russia shared their challenges with the United States immigration system. We heard warnings of trickery used by lawyers and others to make a profit from deaf immigrants. There was a lot to learn and a lot to share. Our Deaf Club explored people's stress and fears, and presenters gave tips and exercises on how to make their environment more relaxing. The rise of domestic violence during this pandemic, especially among deaf seniors, provided lessons on what people can do to protect deaf senior citizens. Presenters explored mental health issues, how to identify, who to contact, and how to handle. As consumers of sign language, there were workshops on knowing your rights under the American Disability Act, how the deaf must advocate for themselves, knowing their rights when confronted with interpreters they do not understand, who to contact about interpreting agencies who disregard and disrespect their needs. Discussions were held about various legislative laws and their needs for change, with a special focus on the implications of women's rights under the Roe v. Wade Act. These workshops gave us better insight about our present work and what needs to be done for our future expansion of services. For continuous networking and support, our Deaf Club leaders continue to meet with the Mayor's Office on Disabilities, the Police Department, as well as other deaf advocate groups. Our third component is hosting on alternate weeks free sign language classes for people who have some sign language skills and who are or have attended professional sign language schools. The free classes are designed to encourage students to remain focused on accomplishing the difficult task of becoming an ASL interpreter or community advocate. Our final component is NAN's Global Hand Sign Language Interpreting Teams, bringing to the forefront well-trained and skilled professional African-American interpreters. Yes. During this pandemic crisis, we are appreciative of their willingness and sacrifice to travel long distances to ensure ongoing education for our deaf community. They have interpreted NAN's marches on Washington, NAN's annual conventions, and NAN's legislative breakfasts. And we are happy to report that interpreters around the country have become our brainstorming agents, helping us to stay focused on reaching and benefiting as many deaf and hard of hearing individuals as possible, while ensuring that our interpreters are provided with amenities commensurate with their profession. We are inspired that a national deaf organization thought us worthy to contact to assist them in operating more efficiently. We will meet with them later this month for a detailed discussion. To my knowledge, NAN is the only hearing civil rights organization to provide such a wide range of free services for the deaf community. We are proud and thankful for the privilege of being a conduit for social justice and equal accessibility under the leadership of the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton and the National Action Network. We thank him and we thank you, our NAN family, for all of your wisdom and support. And we pray that God will continue to bless and keep you. We can be reached by email at hojdefclub@aol.com or leave your contact information at the House of Justice at 212-690-3070, and you will be contacted. In the meantime, we thank you and have a great day.
All right, our dear sister Chris Dudley, we so appreciate all of the work that she's done. Give her a big hand. I'm telling you, our interpreters committee is so significant to all that we do because it brings all that we do to so many and makes it possible for them to participate in everything that we do in a full way. So we thank Chris for all of her work down through the years. So appreciate you so much. Right now, brothers and sisters, our musical director is in the house, Minister Tyrone Richardson.
I would lift up mine eyes to the hills from which cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth. He said he will not suffer thy foot to be moved. The Lord that keepeth thee, he will not slumber nor sleep. Oh, the Lord is the keeper, the Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand, upon thy right hand. Oh, the sun shall not smite me by day, nor the moon by night. He shall preserve thy soul, even forevermore.
That is our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson, accompanied by Chris Garland. Brothers and sisters, he is no stranger to the House of Justice, probably no stranger to many of you. He is the public advocate of the great city of New York, the Honorable Jumaane Williams.
Peace and blessings, love and light, everybody. How you doing? My name is Jumaane Williams. I'm the public advocate of the city of New York. And as many of you know, I am a candidate for governor of the state of New York. And listen, you know, I've had a history and experience of making government work, doing what I said I was going to do on behalf of the people who need the most assistance. We are at a critical time right now. We've lost over 70,000 New Yorkers, and I keep hearing our leaders say we have to return to normal, and I keep saying no, normal didn't work for the members of NAN, it didn't work for Harlem, it didn't work for New York City, it didn't work for New York State. So I want to normalize people's lives, but I don't want to go back to the normal that got us here in the first place. And if we had dealt with the issues of housing, we had dealt with the issues of healthcare and mental health, the issues of food insecurity, we would not be as bad as we are today. I've been leading the voice on the issues of gun violence, of public safety, of making sure we lift up our law enforcement with accountability and transparency, but not overuse them to try to deal with the issues of public safety we've been dealing with for a long time. The reason I'm running was made very poignant after the Buffalo shooting, and I wanted to speak about that really briefly. By the way, the black community has been dealing with violence since the first two Africans came on as property in 1619 until today. And so we saw a person who embodied white nationalism mow down 10 people, shoot 13 in Buffalo. And I heard the governor say right after that she lives 10 minutes away, and she knows that that community is dealing with as a food desert and a transportation desert. I have never been more infuriated, because that community was dealing with violence before that incident, and we have to deal with the white nationalism that caused that, but we have to deal with the violence that was there before. Their governor was the county clerk, the congressman, the lieutenant governor, and the governor now. You're either just finding out that that East Buffalo neighborhood was a food desert and transportation desert, or you knew and did nothing about it. And that's the problem I have with so many of our leaders. From Brooklyn to Buffalo, the communities have been dealing with these issues, have been dealing with violence for a very long time, and no one has done nothing about it. I'm here with my running mate, Lieutenant Governor candidate Ana Maria Archila. We asked for $1 billion to be put into the budget to deal with gun violence prevention, to deal with youth services, and to deal with victim services. Unfortunately, we didn't get it. But we got $1 billion to build a stadium outside of Buffalo that is dealing with the most issues. That's the reason I'm running, because all across the state, our communities have been suffering. We've been asking for services. We've been asking for so many things, and we've never gotten it. Now, just to close, this doesn't excuse you to shoot an 11-year-old child in the Bronx, to shoot a 12-year-old boy in Brooklyn, to shoot a man trying to go to brunch in the train. There has to be accountability and consequences for your actions. But we can't spend more money on the accountability and consequences than preventing it from happening in the first place. And as governor, I'll make sure I continue to do the work that I've been doing for so long. The reason I'm running is simply because it gives me more tools. It gives me the funding to do what I've been trying to do for such a long time. You've seen what I can do as a city council member. You've seen what I can do as public advocate. I'm asking you to join me one more time on June 28th and vote Jumaane Williams and Ana Maria Archila for governor and lieutenant governor of the state of New York. Thank you so much. Mr. Justice Lovett. Thank you, House of Justice. Thank you, man.
All right, thank you, Jumaane Williams. We appreciate that so much. Right now, brothers and sisters, and once again, our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson.
I just want to praise you forever and ever and ever for all you've done for me. Blessings and glory and honor, they all belong to you. Thank you, Jesus, for blessing me. I just want to praise you forever and ever and ever. Oh, you've done for me.
All right. We are going to come back to the public advocate for a short presentation.
My apologies, just got a couple wires crossed, but I just want to introduce my running mate, Ana Maria Archillo, who's running for Lieutenant Governor. Will be the first Latina ever and first person LGBT ever at the state.
Thank you, Jumani. Good morning, everyone. What an honor to be with you today. My name is Ana Maria Archila, and I am so proud to be Jumani's running mate and your candidate for Lieutenant Governor. I came to this country when I was 17 years old, and it was in New York that I found a place that welcomed me and allowed me to feel at home again. It was in New York that I found the safety to love who I love, to be queer, to be proud. It was in New York that my children were born. And New York should be a place where every single person lives with dignity. We live in one of the richest states in the country, but also one of the most unequal. And it is unequal because of decades and decades of decisions by elected officials who ask our communities, Black and brown and immigrant communities, working class communities, to wait, wait, and wait. Wait for better schools, wait for better housing, wait for protections from evictions, wait for safety, wait, and we are tired of waiting. There is no reason why our communities should wait and wait and wait. We have lost enough. This pandemic took so many of our loved ones, took so much of our health, took so much of our stability, and in this moment, we should have Albany focused on the priorities of working families. We should make sure that Albany is delivering $1 billion in gun violence prevention programs. We should make sure that Albany is investing in healthcare systems. We should make sure that Albany is making childcare available to everyone. We should make sure that Albany is making sure that our elders are able to stay in their homes and in their communities with access to home care. It is not too much to ask for Albany to choose real people above real estate. It's not too much to ask. It's really not too much to ask for Albany to choose the safety of our communities above the demands and the whims of billionaires who say, give me a stadium in a city like Buffalo where half of the children live in poverty. It's really not too much to ask for New York to not have places like the Fruit Belt neighborhood where the top supermarket in Buffalo is located. Places where people have only one supermarket, only one bus stop, only one ATM machine. In the state that's one of the richest in the country. In New York, we have 125 billionaires who made $228 billion in the last 2 years. And we are not taxing any of that wealth. We need to tax the rich to make sure that our communities have what we deserve. And I am so honored to be here with you and to join Jumani and to make sure that the Lieutenant Governor is not someone who is quiet in the background, but fighting every single day for people to have what we deserve. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. And once again, the candidates are all check your ballots, check your information. The primary elections are coming up in June 28th, so you want to be fully informed on all that you will be looking at when you go to the polls. Right now, brothers and sisters, from the historic city in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we are pleased to have with us a great civil rights attorney there, Demario Solomon Simmons. He also has worked with the Justice for Greenwood Committee and has worked with the family of Terrence Crutcher, and he's right here in the great village of Harlem this morning, coming to you right now.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm attorney Demario Solomon Simmons. Law is my ministry, justice is my passion. I am so excited to be back in the House of Justice once again, the house that Reverend Al Sharpton built. Give it up for Reverend Al Sharpton, who's all over this nation fighting for our rights. I had the great pleasure of working with Reverend Al Sharpton in 2016 when my client Terrence Crutcher was shot with his hands up by Tulsa police officer Betty Jo Shelby. And ever since that day, anytime I pick up the phone call and call Reverend Al, he shows up on the scene. He shows up with the necessary power, with the necessary word, and he shows up with the backing of all of you. So I'm so excited to be here today as I stand here representing the last 3 known living survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre. The good sister just talked about waiting. Can you imagine our people, my clients, waiting over 100 years for justice, over 100 years for reparations? And that's what this fight is about. On May 2nd, 2022, just a month ago, we achieved something that had never happened in the history of this country. A lawsuit related to a race massacre of our people are moving forward. I said a lawsuit related to a race massacre of our people is actually moving forward. And why is Tulsa so important to all of us? Because the Tulsa Greenwood, Black Wall Street was the largest, most wealthiest black community in the history of this nation. Yes, my sister, I see you down there. I stand on the shoulders of all of those who've been fighting for over 100 years for reparations, because this is a case that we must win, not just for Tulsa, not just for Oklahoma, but for black people throughout this entire nation. If we cannot win in Greenwood, where we have living survivors, we have video, we have hundreds of pictures, we have testimony. If we cannot win that reparations battle, where can we win? But here's the good news. Here is the good news. We can and will win Tulsa. We can and will win justice for Greenwood. We can and will win reparations for Greenwood, and that will be a point for all of us. It will be the pinpoint that gives us the momentum and the inspiration to win reparations all throughout this country for everything that's happened to us, for the redlining, for the Jim Crow, for the lynching, for the segregation, and for everything that has happened in this country. So at Justice for Greenwood, I want everyone to go to our website, justiceforgreenwood.org, justiceforgreenwood.org. Join with us. Come and work with us. Make a donation to our work as we continue to fight the perpetrators of the massacre, the city of Tulsa, the Tulsa Chamber of Commerce, the state of Oklahoma, and many of the other perpetrators of Tulsa, the genocide. I want to make sure you understand this before I sit down. When we talk about the massacre, we're talking about something that happened throughout this country. What makes Tulsa unique, Dominique? What makes Tulsa unique is the scope and the scale. The scope and the scale of destruction. We're talking about 40 blocks, 4 square miles, over $200 million in property damage, thousands of lives lost, and dreams crushed to the ground. But together, we will get justice for Greenwood. Justice for Greenwood. Justice for Greenwood. Justice for Greenwood. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Attorney Solomon Simmons. Justice for Greenwood here in the House of Justice. Right now, brothers and sisters, once again, he is a very dear friend of the National Action Network. He's also a board member of the National Action Network. He is the senior pastor of First Corinthian Baptist Church right here in the great village of Harlem. He is our inspirational speaker for this morning. Giving us our inspirational word, the Reverend Michael A. Wallen.
Good morning, National Action Network. Good morning, Nan. Always good to be here and grateful for this day and grateful for the opportunity to be here and share. Thank God for our leader, Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, who is a beloved friend and mentor, and to our chairman, W. Franklin Richardson, and my friend Michael Hardy. So grateful to be here on this day to share with you. I'm going to move quickly because they told me 10 minutes. I don't know how it's going to happen. All right? So we're grateful for this. I want to lift a scripture because there's a lot going on in our nation, and I know Reverend Sharpton will talk about it. But I want to lift a scripture that I think speaks to something else that is happening and going on in this moment and in this season. And so it's a familiar passage in Matthew, the 25th chapter, and it is one of 3 parables that Jesus tells in the 25th chapter of Matthew. And it's a rather lengthy passage. It's not too long, but I'll read it quickly. Matthew 25, beginning at verse 31, it reads like this. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, when he will sit on the throne of his glory, all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will put the sheep at his right hand and the goats at his left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, come, you that are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you? And the king will answer them, truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me. Then he will say to those at his left hand, you that are cursed, depart from me into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me, naked, and you did not give me clothing, sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. Then they also will answer, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and did not take care of you? Then he will answer them, truly I tell you, just as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. Come on, let's pray, beloved. God, we are grateful for this day, grateful for this season, grateful for this time. We pray, oh God, that you will continue to remind us of the sufficiency of your grace and the enduring nature of your mercy and the all-encompassing power of your love. God, we are in a time right now, oh God, where we need to feel your presence more than ever. So God, continue to remind us that you will never leave us nor forsake us, that you will be with us every step of the way. We honor you, God. We love you, Lord. And it is in your name we pray. And we say, amen. 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 Amen, beloved. This passage often gets misunderstood. Matthew 25 highlights 3 parables. And so the story shared from verse 31 on to the conclusion of Matthew 25 is a parable. It is Jesus' attempt at using a story to illustrate a deeper understanding or meaning to the faith, to our faith. It's important because here is the only time where Jesus actually talks about what the judgment will be like. I remember being a little boy growing up in this church out on Long Island, and they had us there, children, watching a film and the film was terrifying. The film was about what hell would be like and why we need to be saved. I remember being 8 years old, and I decided, I said, listen, I don't want to go to hell. And literally, they used that film to scare the hell out of us. And we all came as children coming in wanting to be saved, wanting to be part of the kingdom, because we did not want to go to hell. We did not want to be judged and then go to hell. Well, here, Jesus is speaking about what judgment is like. The problem is when Jesus speaks about judgment, it's not what we think judgment is like. We often make this assumption that judgment will come. God will look at your life, look at the good and the bad you've done, look at your sins and the things you've done that might gain you entrance into the kingdom, and then God will make a decision. Does your good outweigh your bad so that you can be counted as part of the righteous? And oftentimes in church we put together a list of what we think makes us good, and then we also create a list, tragically, of who we think is bad. It's interesting that we spend so much time talking in our churches about who we think is bad when the same Jesus we claim to follow warned us about the danger of judging and the danger of condemning and the danger of not forgiving. And somehow we love being intoxicated with what other people are doing and miss what we're called to do. But here Jesus outlines, this is what judgment is like. And it may be a newsflash to some people who are trying to find a hell to put people in. This is what judgment is like. He said, here it is, here it is. Judgment will come, or rather, you'll be viewed as unfavorable, not because of your personal flaws, but you'll be viewed as unfavorable because of your unwillingness to expand your generosity. That you will be viewed as unfavorable because you will not see what your true duty is as a believer and follower of the teachings of Jesus. And you got to watch this. So the favorable versus the unfavorable in this parable is unique.
Yeah.
Now here's the first thing, and I'll be out your way in a few minutes. Those who we call the righteous, who Jesus says will go into the kingdom. Look at who the righteous are. They are not those who've been members of church for 40 years. They're not person who served on 3 and 4 and 5 ministries in church. He didn't say these are people, every morning they read their Bible, say their prayers, and they do good. He said, here are the righteous. Those who understand how to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, give drink to those who are thirsty, visit those who are sick and in prison, welcome the stranger. Those are the righteous. But hear this. When Jesus gives the parable that the king honors the righteous don't even know they're righteous. Oh, you got to see that in text. They don't realize that they are in the category of the righteous. And what qualifies them for the kingdom? What qualifies them to be called righteous? They fed the hungry, clothed the naked, visited those in prison, welcomed the stranger, visited those who are sick. Now, here's the thing. This is Jesus speaking. This ain't Pastor Mike making this up. This is Jesus saying what gets you into the kingdom. And I got to let you know, for most of us, if we had to outline what qualifies us for the kingdom, this passage may not come up. That's the tragedy. We would have a whole list of things we think would get us into the kingdom. And many of us would forget feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, giving water to those who are thirsty, welcoming the stranger, visiting those who are sick and in prison. We would have a list of the people who would be in and who would be out. But I dare say it would not be based on Jesus' teaching. Let me make a caveat for a second. It is amazing to me how many people who claim to be Christians know how to quote every line of the Bible except for what Jesus said. They will quote the Old Testament. They'll skip over Jesus and go to Paul, but they don't really deal with Jesus. Because Jesus doesn't give you cut formulas. A plus B gets you saved. He says, no, figure it out. Learn, serve, journey, help, love. And that has to manifest itself in how you claim to live your life. That's the righteous. But those who are the unrighteous, who are doomed to eternal fire, look at who they are. They are not those who don't go to church. They are not those who hang out, who wear pants instead of dresses or don't have their head covered. These are the ways of the church. The unrighteous are those who are so self-engrossed and self-intoxicated and self-consumed that they forget they have a responsibility for their brother or sister. Those are the ones Jesus says in this parable are doomed to eternal fire. Can you imagine that selfishness and greed become the qualifications for hell? The inability to look beyond yourself and realize that it's bigger than you. Oh my God. Can I put it another way? Jesus is saying, when you tend to the needs of the vulnerable, the overlooked, the marginalized, the outcast, those who are looked down upon, you're righteous. But when you ignore the overlooked, the marginalized, the downcast, the downtrodden, then you are among the ranks of the unrighteous. I hope you get this. This is tough for some, but here's the deep part. Here's why I love talking about it. This is Jesus' words, not mine. This is what Jesus is saying. What qualifies you for the kingdom. And here we are, some of us who claim to be believers, and we bypass people who are broken, ignore people who are wounded, look down upon people who are struggling, not realizing that when you do that, you disqualify yourself from the kingdom all the time. Because the kingdom is not about buildings that we love to adorn. The kingdom is about how you live your life in service of others. And here's the part, and I take my seat with this. This season of judgment is not just for individuals. He said, nations will be judged. The nations will be judged. This nation will be judged on how it speaks and meets the needs of the vulnerable. If children are massacred, if mothers can't get milk, if people remain homeless, if people are being shot every day in the streets, the nations will be judged by that neglect, not by how much money the nation has or how many weapons of destruction the nation has. Do you tend to the needs of those who are broken and left out and ignored every day? The quality of who you are and the quality of the character of your nation and the quality of the character that you possess as an individual is steeped in whether you can transcend your own selfishness and meet the needs of those who are struggling every day. I know we like to talk about church, but I'm over talking about church, and I pastor. I want to talk about what it means to be a disciple, because Jesus said, go make disciples, not build churches, not make members, make disciples. And how do you make disciples? He said, baptize and teach what I taught you. And if you're not teaching what the carpenter taught, I don't know what you're doing, but it ain't the teachings, it ain't the work. And we call this faith. Beloved, we are at a pivotal time in our history. It's a time when those who are people of faith have to begin to live it differently and understand who we are. The song I learned a long time ago, a charge to keep I have, a God to glorify, a never dying soul to save and fitted for the sky, to serve this present age, my calling to fulfill. May all my powers engage to do the master's will. And must I be carried to the skies on flowery beds of ease, while others fought to win the prize and sail through bloody seas? No, I must fight if I would reign. Increase my courage, Lord. I'll stand the toil, endure the pain, supported by God's word. And you as a believer should never have peace if you bring no justice.
Senior pastor of First Corinthian Baptist Church, the Reverend Michael A. Waldron, we thank you so much for that. Change Ensemble. I want you to get on your feet. If you're at home, I want you to put your hands together for the president and founder of the National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. 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 Fist bump the person next to you and tell them you love them. Came to New York to go to Columbia Law School, wanted to be a lawyer. He joined my youth movement, and we later found out his name was Teddy Brown, and he was the son to James Brown, the Godfather soul. Teddy got killed about 6 months later in a car accident in Albany, New York. And James Brown came to New York to do a concert in memory of him, and the local disc jockeys told him that he had joined my youth movement. He gave the money to us, and it started what became a father-son relationship between Mr. Brown and I. Many years later, many of you remember that when toward the end of his career, he got in some trouble in South Carolina, and they put him in jail. And when he went to jail, many of those that had made money off of him wouldn't come see him. Some of his own family members wouldn't come see him. But I would go down every month, even when I didn't have money to fly. We'd get in the car and drive down, visit him. I went so much the warden let me preach on Sundays to the prisoners. But James Brown told me one day, sitting there in the yard at the South Carolina Correction Facility, that sometime, Reverend, your will means more than your skill. And if you don't stop, he said, you watch when I get out of here, my change will happen. I will be able to do another kind of narrative to this story. I thought he was just talking. He was almost 60 years old and had been in jail a year or so. But time came on and he got out of jail, and they had a multi-million-dollar return. Butch Lewis, who was a friend of the judge and I, brought him back with a concert in Hollywood. Every Hollywood star there, the Grammys saluted him. And they came in the same town and locked him up and built the James Brown statue. This picture on the wall here is me and him dedicating the James Brown statue
And we rode by the sheriff's office, his address, the sheriff in Augusta, Georgia, is on James Brown Boulevard. If you don't give up, if you keep on going, you're going to take a hit every now and then, but if you keep the faith, your change will come.
Your change will come. Your change. Oh, yes, it will. Your change will come. Your change.
Young man grew up in Michigan and got out there with the wrong crowd and his brother in the gangs and all kind of stuff, and sometimes you make bad choices, end up going to jail, come out of jail, worked for members of the political elite, worked his way up, and people thought he could never be nothing. Ex-convict, juvenile delinquent, family of crime. But today he's going in his 23rd season as the one that lasted longer than any black that played a judge on television. And get ready to start a new show. From the jailhouse to the judgeship to the TV studio, you're going to hear from him. Judge Greg Mathis, your change will come.
Your change will come.
National Action Network Change Ensemble, give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. Certainly we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning for the Saturday Action Rally. For you that are here live in the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street in the Village of Harlem. And you that are listening live on 1190 WLIB AM in New York, and you that are watching us on social platforms and other platforms around the country, we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning to give our report on where the action is. Give a hand to our presider, Attorney Michael Hardy, our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson, and don't forget to give him a drummer some. Certainly didn't we enjoy my brother, the pastor of First Corinthian Baptist Church. And let me tell you something, Reverend Michael Walron is not only one of the preeminent ministers and thinkers of our time, he's my little brother, and he's special to me. And he does my syndicated show every Tuesday. I don't let no preacher on my show every week. Show you how I think about it. None. I don't care how long you talk about. I've known you since you was 5 years old. That's why you ain't on my show, because I know you too. But he has something to say, and he says it well, and he lifted us up today. He's also a member of our national board. He takes it very seriously, as he does his church. There is no church that serves more. You know, a lot of people get the congregation he's got, and that's all they do. But he, with the Hope Center and what they're doing, and every time I talk to him, it looks like he's opening something else, doing something else. Y'all give a hand to the man, Reverend Mike Walron. Then I'm honored to have my other little brother from the Midwest. You heard him this morning. He handled the case of those survivors of the Tulsa Massacre. A lot of folk talk about them, but he went and fought in the court. And when I went to Tulsa for the Terrence Crutcher case, police, you remember, killed Terrence Crutcher, police woman, he handled that case. And he handled the case of getting some reparations in court for the Tulsa victims. And he was in town and wanted to be with us. I said he had to have words. Give another hand to Demario Solomon Simmons. Stand up, Demario. Give him a hand. And I'm so proud of his work and Dr. Tiffany Crutcher and the work they've done in Tulsa. Let me say by way of announcements, I was not here last Saturday because I was obviously in, let's welcome our Impact Television audience all over the world. I was in Buffalo doing the eulogy for the funeral services of Ruth Whitfield, the 86-year-old that was killed in the Buffalo massacre. And we had the vice president come. I'll talk about that more in a minute, but I want to thank our chairman of the board, Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, who spoke for my stead last week, and my pastor, Reverend Lacey, Adolphus Lacey, is here. What I want to announce next Saturday is on June 12th, is the 40th anniversary of the June 12th demonstration for peace against nuclear armament. It was for nuclear disarmament 40 years ago. And we're going to have Reverend Herbert Daughtry, Bishop Daughtry. He was in the back. He's gone to elevation service for our good friend Reverend Albert Jameson. But he's going to be here with us next week. But I want to say a couple of things before I get into my message. One is last week when we did the services for Ruth Whitfield, and it's one of the saddest stories I've ever heard. I've been doing a lot down through the years in terms of families and services. They cremated her because when you're shot at a certain close range with one of these guns, it literally tears your body up. One of the people killed tore the face off them. So the family cremated, they put an urn there. I had went to the White House the Wednesday before and encouraged the vice president to come. And she said, well, I don't want to look political. I said, no, but you're the first black vice president, first woman vice president, and we need you to come. The president came, she was in Asia, and she came. Then I made her speak, you know, that she wasn't supposed to speak. Some of y'all that watched it, I called her up to speak, she wasn't supposed to speak. And as we were dealing with all of this, the thing that got me more than anything, Judge, is that this 86-year-old woman had been married 63 years, and her husband had gotten ill a few years before, couldn't walk, was disabled, and they put him in a nursing home. Her son told me she went to the nursing home every day, never missed a day, to visit her husband. And the day that this happened, she had went to the nursing home and visited him. On her way home, stopped by the supermarket to get some groceries. And this white supremacist killed this woman. And throughout the whole funeral, they had wheeled the husband in, he's sitting in a wheelchair, couldn't talk, but just moaned and groaned the whole service. That's the viciousness of this white supremacy and gun violence. But it's just as wrong when we do this to each other. It's just as wrong when you get on a subway and shoot just walk up and down the train and decide to shoot somebody. It's just as wrong when you got here gang banging and think what makes you a man is a gun. If you need a gun to make you a man, you're not a man. We must stand up to this glorification of gun violence, of thug life, just like we stand up to white supremacy. We don't want our people killed by those that want to be thugs or by white supremacists. We don't want to choose which way to die. We want to live. So in Buffalo, at the funeral, among the other dignitaries there, Mayor Eric Adams flew up, and he and I sat together flying back. And he's serious about fighting violence, but he wanted to come and take a stand for the city of New York against white supremacy. And he told me on the plane that I'm getting ready to announce something this week. You can't tell nobody. And I said, all right. I won't tell nobody till the plane lands. He said that I'm going to announce a czar over gun violence that will focus on it and concentrate on it. And I said, really? He said, yeah, you know him. His name is A.T. Mitchell. I've known A.T. since he was a very young man. He's been in the movement, and he's been true to fighting for the rights of this community, but also true to fight violence. He's not new. He comes from the ground up, not from the penthouse down. He come out of Brownsville like I did. If you come through Brownsville fighting violence, I'm talking about he comes from the days of Akbar, when he was champ, and Cato, and Mike Tyson and them, Smiley used to slap Mike Tyson around. He come back from back then all the way to now, and was mentored and trained by Bishop Herbert Daughtry and Charles Barron. And even when some of us had differences, he never got in between our differences. We'd be arguing. That's my big brother. I don't care what y'all do. It's like children. Y'all never get in between your mother and father fighting, otherwise both of them will turn on you. But when they announced him, I know that he is one, if there is anyone that knows how to turn the culture of this city around to deal with gun violence, is A.T. Mitchell. And I asked him to be here to just give a few words to the community on the air today. My little brother, the Czar. I done had the President of the United States, everybody here. Now I got a Czar here. The Czar of gun violence. A.T. Mitchell, come on.
Good morning. It is indeed a good morning. It's good to be back in the house of justice. I am no stranger to this family here at National Action Network. You are my blood relative family. Sharptons, man, I love every single one of you. And every loyal list here, a part of this body, it is a pleasure indeed to be back home in Harlem, but to be alongside my Brooklynite comrades and all of my family, Brother Michael Warren and all of y'all. When I come here, I get goosebumps because I sat in the audience for many years, Paul, and I listened and I learned from you as well. And I took notes, and then I materialized those notes into action. I remember when the call for action came from this podium to occupy corners. Because there was violence that was, at that time, that was taking over our communities. And I went back to Brooklyn and I talked, and we said we were going to take our places in our neighborhoods, and we stood on them corners early in the morning. And we had folks, reverends and community folks all joined together, and we did that. And we started a movement called Occupy Corners. Right from this podium. So I just wanted to come through this morning because now I've been recognized for the hard work. You see, the best leaders were the best followers. The best generals were the best soldiers. The best chiefs were the best Indians. And the best teachers were the best students. And now I've been given the charge by this mayor, this day and time, to really continue to do the work that I have been doing for close to 30 years. And that's something that the media doesn't cover. the body of peace, the body of work. They don't cover that. So they zero in on what they can. And you pull anybody's furniture back after many years, you're going to find some dust. Am I right? If you ever did spring cleaning, am I right? If you haven't done any wrong in your life, raise your hand. You should spare in the room, but first focus on this side. We can jump out this side. Because he is without sin, right? No one of us is exempt. No one of us does not have spots. But the joy of transforming them scars into badges of honor, it's a whole nother level, right, Judge? And that's what we've been doing here in New York City, and I am honored to take on this charge as the new czar of gun violence prevention. The mayor said that he wants to be balanced in his approach to crime. On one hand, he has to do what he has to do because we have to agree. You just mentioned it. There's no difference between a white racist assassin in Buffalo and a black racist. Let me back that up because I think we can't even be racist. A black miseducated, misguided missile with a pistol in his hand. Am I right? When you became demonized, when something possesses you and you don't understand what kind of possession you're under, you can do things that you regret. And trust and believe I can relate. I stand before you, an open book. I'm not no saint. But I'm going after the same population. You can't, in order for us to reach them, you got to be able to relate to them. And this mayor understood that. Yes, I have tattoos on my body. So does the people that we're going out there in the street to get. Yes, I'm a formerly incarcerated person. So does the people that we're going out into the street to reach. And so you got to be able to relate with them. But the difference is I'm also a change agent. I'm a real model of change. I'm not a role model, I'm a real model. And that's something that they can relate to in the city, from the Bronx to Harlem to Queens and Brooklyn and all the way to Staten Island. So I am honored to be a servant, a continued servant of our people. I want to reach them before they pull those triggers. And we want to pour the resources, as many resources as this city can muster up, to make sure that they can have a good chance at a full life. And I'll be back to report to you here at the House of Justice every single time that we have a report. Someone asked me, and I'm closing, one of the reporters, so what is your timetable? What do you think that you're going to see a difference? And we're saying, excuse us? Are we forgetting 400 plus years of slavery and Jim Crow racism and now institutional racism? Are we going to forget all those years? And you're asking us to change something in 6 months? We got to be realistic. But I'm going to do my darnest with my men and women throughout the country, because this is a national problem. Violence is a disease. But we have some troopers here in the city of New York that are credible messengers who are willing to get out there with me in the wee hours of the night and the morning to make sure that we interrupt the violence. And I will be back to report to you on our progress. Okay? Thank you so much. I love you. And I'll see you all very soon.
Let me say this. I remember when I started becoming known and the media would attack me. And James Brown, Godfather of Souls, told a reporter, said, well, how do you deal with Al Sharpton? He's controversial. He said, if you were born in a mud pile, on your way out, you're going to get some mud stick to your clothes. He wasn't responsible for what he was born in, but he took the responsibility to come out. All of us made mistakes. The question is, can you rise above those mistakes? And they can dig up whatever they want on AT. We know ATs. And let me tell you something, I tell y'all all the time, people that fly with me, travel with me on the road, Judge, Chris and Steve Marshall, the only time I won't fly is if I find out it's the pilot's first trip. I don't want nobody ad-libbing on me. I don't want nobody learning, get up there and hit turbulence and they never handled it before. We do not need a czar of gun violence that does not know the street and the mentality of the people in the street. He is not the czar of going to the salons on Fifth Avenue and talk to the rich and the famous. He's got to be in the streets. Like he said, we did Occupy the Corner from here. That is gangbangers in the street. We're going to do Occupy again. The huddle right here is going to do it, and we're going to work with the czar. He's got to go there. He knows them. He knows their language. He knows their speech. He knows one of them. He did time. So he understands those that come back out of jail and feel that they have no way out. And that's why I wanted him here, because we're going to stand with him. Reverend Walron, I want you and the judge to stand behind me. I want us to all give a prayer of strength and a prayer of power, that God would give extra protection and discernment to our new czar. I don't care what they write about you, AT. I want you to let God be a fence all around you and help us turn this city around. Our people are being killed from subways to streets to projects. I preached a one-year-old boy's funeral. We need you to use what you have gone through, to use that to help this man turn this city around. I want everybody in the audience, put your hand toward the czar and pray with me. Dear God, we thank you for the vision of the mayor to bring someone from the streets to the suites, to stand up for those that have been broken in spirit. Give him the strength, give him the discernment, give him the power to help turn this around. We give you the glory and we give you the acknowledgement. These blessings we ask on A.T. Mitchell as he goes on this journey. Amen. All right. We're going to be with him. Give him another hand. And let me tell you, and he's not getting paid for this. I want y'all to know this. He ain't getting paid for this. But he's serving, and that's what he does. And like he said, he's been a student, he's been a trooper, and I like what you said, A.T., about how the best leaders are the best followers and the best teachers were the best students. And I grew up a student of Reverend Bill Jones and a student of Jesse Jackson. And I still praise them, because every chance I get, next time you see Jesse, you got to tell him I'm out of school now. Sometimes you don't know when graduation is, but he's my teacher. All right. Before I take my message, I really know he didn't want to say nothing, but we got to hear some words from a man that I think personifies what you do when you make it. Judge Greg Mathis, who went to jail as a kid, rose up and helped to deal with the black political empowerment structure in Detroit. He worked for Coleman Young's campaign. He worked on staffs. And then he ended up getting this role on television and now getting ready to start a new series that's going to happen on June 18th, on Juneteenth Day. And he'll tell you about it. But I've known him because he's a movement guy. He heard Reverend Jackson speak when he was in jail, helped turn his life around. And he always helps Reverend Jackson. And he and I have been like two disciples of Reverend Jackson. And we would be together with Bush Lewis at the big fights talking about movement stuff. We was at Aretha's Christmas party, and you had to be somebody to be invited to Aretha. Aretha would get a big ballroom and invite only 40 people. I said, what we need all this space for when Aretha ain't gonna let nobody, and she would have them guard the door to make sure only those invited would come. But we'd be plotting. But when we were on the way, when this organization was just starting and was trying to get funds to go up, he invited me and had a fundraiser at his home in Beverly Hills. I was out there like I always was in Beverly Hills, putting my toe in the pool and all that. And had all these wealthy blacks come to the house and give us money. He's always been there. He never had a house that he didn't invite me to. He's raised money for this organization. And I knew he was in town getting ready to kick off this new show, and I wanted him to come by. He said, absolutely, what time do you need me there? I said, I want the people to see you. He said, I don't want to talk. I said, like the vice president want to talk. Let's hear a few words from the judge, 23 years, Judge Greg McElroy.
My dear brother Sharpton, I loved him so much. I've learned so much from him. You know, when you grow up in a small town like Detroit, compared to New York it is, you follow the big city leaders, or you follow your big city colleagues. And so much of my young adult professional life in civil rights has been set by the example of Reverend Jackson, but just as much my colleague and peer, he used to be a peer, he got me past, now he ain't been past me as it relates to the movement and what really matters, Reverend Sharpton. And so I thank you, brother, for your example, for your mentorship, and I love you and I love the House of Justice. Let me also thank Sister Gardner, who sacrificed her son to bring hope and inspiration that a movement would start, and indeed that movement did start. Black Lives Matter started with Sister Garner and the other sisters who lost their sons. And so we are so thankful to her, and we're going to join her July 16th when they make the special dedication to Eric Garner of the street that we're going to see. So thank you for all your work. Let me very quickly address, I wish our brother was still here, but I wanted him to know I went through that same process and then project to him what he might go through. Because after coming out of jail, I went to work on Reverend Jackson's campaign, then the city council, then the mayor of Detroit, worked for the mayor of Detroit, continued my work with Reverend Jackson, then became a lawyer. A few years later, ran for judge. And when I ran, that's when they came. The media wanted to destroy my campaign. They had looked up my record, which had been expunged, but they got it from the State Bar Association, whom I had to tell about expunged records. And they took that because I was running against one of their buddies, the judge, an incumbent. They took that, gave it to the media, and the media attacked my campaign. Just as they are no doubt going to do our brother Dissolve. But you know, man had a plan and God had a plan, and I want him to tell him. Because people didn't know of my history then, other than Mayor Young and Reverend Jackson, because I met him in jail and he inspired me to go to college. But Detroit elected officials didn't know that much. But then when they attacked me, and as I said, man had a plan and God had a plan, and we know that God is the master planner. And so what they thought would destroy me, God used it to lift me up and be an inspiration to some of these other street youth who are looking for a way out and who are living in hopeless, disparate circumstance. So be ready, brother, but don't you give up. Fight back. That's what we've done, because if you're from those streets, you know how to fight. And we're going to fight back. As I close, I want to speak to our brothers very quickly. I want them to know that they can matter. Black men, you can matter. But until you support our community and fight for our community and drop your guns and pick up your weapons, you are irrelevant. And nobody's going to care about you. Nobody's going to serve you. Nobody's going to protect you because they know you don't love, protect, and serve your own community. We talk about what our black women have done in recent years. They have become the leaders of our community. You men walk around super macho, you the man, you the man. No, and then you push a woman out there to get voting rights. You push black women out to the polls to do your work when you need legislation more than anybody. You have Black Lives Matter primarily led by black women and white youth. Primarily. While we sit back watching ESPN. You won't even watch MSNBC. You need to. Then you'll know how to fight. You watch the good brother. He'll teach you how to fight. You don't see him punking out. He ain't scared of them. And y'all on the street with your guns talking crazy and scared of the white man. A white supremacist kills 10 of our women and children and grandmothers, and you ain't nowhere to be found other than on the other side of town shooting each other. You didn't even go out and protest. You didn't march. You didn't say nothing to his parents, to his school. You didn't ask any questions. You didn't come up the next day with your weapons to guard that black community. Take that AR-15 that you're shooting each other with and stand by like the Black Panthers used to do and protect us. Brothers, stop being played. You're being played. They dumping guns in your community and taking jobs out. There's a direct correlation between poverty, between the increase in gun violence and the increase in guns. Gun purchases and sales, that's only the legal ones, have went up 20%. Throw in the illegal guns and the gun running that's coming from the South up to New York, up to Detroit, then we know what we have. But as I leave, brothers, I know you feel like you've been neglected, rejected, denied equal opportunity, but you can't punk out. We can't sit back and watch our women and children be destroyed while we out hanging out, shooting each other, engaged in fratricide. Where does that come from? Lawlessness starts at the top, and I'm gonna leave that alone. When you rushed on January 6th to take over the country, and your president is part of it, how you gonna tell a street youth what they shouldn't do when they're living in desperation? So, brothers, stand up, because we want you to matter. Reverend talked about the show my family is launching on Juneteenth, Father's Day. I made sure they did it then, Black holiday. They're going to profile me as a father, Father's Day, to provide a positive image of black people who also have, this family, its own individual challenges. But each of us matter. I hope you think I matter after the 23 years of standing up and entertaining you a little bit. But what you'll see is every member of my family matters. From my oldest daughter, who is a lawyer, failed the bar 5 times because she has a learning disorder and depression. Worked as a lawyer in the state's attorney's office, creating second chance programs for ex-offenders, inspired by her father's second chance. Now, then we have my son who is gay. And I'm not playing now. I don't want to hear no nonsense. I don't play. Y'all know that. And plus I got goons. And I bring them out with my family. Now I bring them out. I'm giving everybody a fair warning. So you know the challenge he faces with discrimination. But he matters because now he's a leader in the LGBTQ community fighting for equality. Not trying to pass judgment. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. We want equality and not discriminate. Then there's my other daughter, showing how a professional woman, she's a lawyer also, and a real estate agent. And so we matter, my children matter, and brothers, if you fight back, you too can matter. Thank you all for listening. God.
Give another hand, Judge Greg Mathis. Let me quickly bring some things, since I was not there I was not there last week. First of all, the Conference of National Black Churches has relaunched, and we are certainly partnering. We cannot act like we're out of this COVID-19 pandemic. We need to keep testing. And Dr. Richardson and the Conference of National Black Churches are at the spearhead of that. Secondly, on Wednesday before last, at the White House, President Biden signed the executive order on police accountability. Now, one of the things that we fought hard for the George Floyd Justice and Police Act. We did not get it passed, got it past the House, never got to the Senate because the black Republican senator from South Carolina, Tim Scott, pulled out of the negotiations based on the Republicans would not support qualified immunity. Now, qualified immunity means is that policemen can be personally liable for their behavior. Policemen think twice if he know he can lose his house, his car. And we want that in the bill. They would not do it. People kept saying, well, make the president do something. I said, let us first see if the Senate is going through. See, one thing y'all got to have, that's why I was glad AT said about mentorship, you got to have a strategy. I learned growing up under folk that did this, you got to have a strategy. Everything that is emotional does not mean it is going to be constructive. I can't tell you how many folks I see get angry when something happens on emotions, but not on a strategy. How many times we see police kill somebody, and for the first 3 rallies, you see people, I ain't gonna take it no more. I ain't gonna take it no more. There's enough. Enough is enough. And 3 weeks later, you don't see it. And they be the baddest, most militant folk at the rally. Tell the folk leading the rally to shut up. We don't hear nothing. And you ain't gonna hear nothing because you ain't gonna be around long enough to hear nothing. So after the Senate wouldn't pass it, that's when we went back and said to the president, you have to do an executive order. Now he said, I can't do the qualified immunity because that's not within the powers of the president. But I can do a registry. That means every time a policeman is cited with abuse or going over the line, that it must be registered where they can't go to another job. I can do a federal mandate against chokeholds and suppression. That's where they put the knee on the George Floyd's neck and chokehold would kill Eric Garner, her son. That's in the executive order. That is now federal law against that. I can do no-knock warrants. There's no allowed. So we went through all of this and that Wednesday, with Breonna Taylor's mother there, George Floyd's family, many of y'all saw on television, I took George Floyd's daughter up on the platform, and he let her sit in his seat. We got an executive order on policing, but we are still gonna fight for the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. Now, let me explain to you something. People, you know, some folk that know it all, that act like we in a competitive sport rather than a social justice movement. So they want, if you get something done, they got something to say. If you fail, they got something to say. So, DeMario, some people go, well, I don't know what Sharpton them doing, no executive order. First of all, the Emancipation Proclamation was an executive order. Let me say that again. For Mr. Super Duper Know-It-All. The Emancipation Proclamation was an executive order, which is why you got Juneteenth. Juneteenth is because by Lincoln making an order to free the slaves or those enslaved, those states that wanted to rebel and act like they weren't part of the Union never spread the word. It was not till the 13th Amendment that outlawed it constitutionally that everybody had to let their slaves go by constitution. When Lincoln was assassinated, Andrew Johnson, who was a Southern Democrat, who Lincoln put on his ticket to try to win the South back, he would have revoked the Emancipation Proclamation. The 13th Amendment is what saved us. So we need an executive order on policing until we can get a federal law. Those that never get nothing done are always going to criticize those of us that do get something done because we know how to get it done. That's why when we went to Buffalo, I got the call. The Saturday that it happened, I got a call from Rem Lewis, who heads our chapter in Buffalo. Our national field director, Reverend DeVest Toom, was on the next plane. White supremacists. Let me tell y'all something. You got to be real clear about this. This guy did not live in Buffalo. No. He lived 3 hours away. He had written on social media a whole manifesto on white supremacy. He was having calls, planning what he was going to do. He researched and found out that a city that had a big population of blacks was Buffalo. And what did he do, Judge Mathis? He also researched the demographics. I said this preaching the funeral last Saturday. The demographics told him that there was only one supermarket in the black community. The closest supermarket in the black community, other than Tops, is 4 miles away. So blacks in Buffalo hit inflation, gas going up, you ain't driving 4 miles. You gonna go to the local supermarket. He knew on a Saturday afternoon that blacks would be shopping at the only supermarket they had. That's why he went to Tops. Which is why I said if you're gonna mourn the 10, we got to build more grocery stores and supermarkets right there in the black community. Don't just feel sorry for us. Oh, we got to pray. You got my prayers and sympathy. No, give me some action. In Texas and in Buffalo. We do not need sympathy. We need to turn this around. There is no reason that you allow people to legally sell military-style weapons. The first thing we need to do is ban AR-15. That's it. The killer in Texas and the killer in Buffalo, both were 18 years old and both use AR-15. Man walk in a school and kill 19 third and fourth graders and some teachers. Man walk in a supermarket and kill 10 people just because they black. And you run around talking about, well, you know, the only thing about a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Well, there was a good guy with a gun.
That's it.
There was a good guy in the supermarket. The security guard who had been a policeman, he took out his gun and fired at him. This kid had on body armor. Took the bullet and killed the guy. You can't outshoot an AR-15. All of y'all talking about, we gonna do this, you ain't gonna do nothing. If you got a crap gun, my grandson in the back, he got one of the little toy guns. That's what you look like next to an AR-15. In a civilized society, why do you have people that can kill 30 and 40 people at a time when they are not in the military? There's something sick and spiritually off about a society that celebrates our capacity to kill, but don't deal with our capacity to make life better. Just like all of these people run around against women having pro-choice. They love the embryo. They love babies until they're born. As long as you stay in the womb, I love you. But as soon as you're born, I'm going to cut the budget on child care. I'm going to cut the budget on daycare. I'm going to cut the budget on public education. Don't love me in the womb. Love me when I come out the womb. So that's why this organization's 31 years now. We're about action and about getting results, changing laws. I'm not interested in just the drama of your anger. Oh man, I ain't gonna take no more. You're gonna take a lot more until we change some laws. You're gonna take a lot more until we change some policies. And stop having these fits rather than fix the institutional structured bias that we deal with. And we jump on each other rather than deal with the issues we need to deal with. Well, I don't know what Eric Adams and them do. Eric Adams ain't been there 6 months. And y'all already critiquing. I'm not going to agree with everything he does, but I'm going to give him a chance to do it. But we've been trained, let me say this, I'll let you go. We've been trained to be against each other. They're out of slavery. They played the house blacks against the field blacks. And the house guy feeling that he is better because he got on the master's dirty white shirt. And you out there in overalls. Both of y'all slaves. Well, I don't know Chopper coming in to get publicity. I don't need no publicity. I got my own TV show. There you go. I'm on 5 o'clock this evening, 5 o'clock tomorrow. That's right. MSNBC. And if I feel like going on in between the week, I'm going to jump on Judge Mathis' show. I don't need you on no publicity. But we've been trained. And we've been totally inundated with self-hate. So anybody that'll fight for you, you don't like them because you don't like yourself. If you don't love you, how you gonna like somebody that loves you? But that's why, going back to my little brother, Reverend Warren's message, that's why you got to deal with this in another way. It's a spiritual realm. That's why our greatest leaders have been those that were spiritual leaders. Reverend Harriet Tubman, Reverend Frederick Douglass, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Minister Malcolm X. Because if you got a spiritual realm, they can write what they want in the newspapers. It don't matter. They can talk about all they want on Fox News. It don't matter. That's why my sermon at the funeral last Saturday was out of Ephesians 6. We got to put on the whole armor. They got on body armor. We got another armor. Put on the whole armor of God so we can withstand. Because we're going through some rough times, pandemic, gun violence. We're going through some rough times, wickedness in high places. I ain't talking about the argument you got in the house, wickedness in high places. Giving military weapons to 18-year-old kids to make profit, that's wickedness in high places. Talking about it's a mental health problem. When you cut the mental health budget, wickedness in high places. Talking about you going to make it a law, Supreme Court is talking about making it where people can carry weapons in New York City. And you want to try and scandalize a czar against gun violence, wickedness in high places. That's why we got to be armed for these times. Now look at the Mario, took people over 100 years to get them some reparations because you burned down Black Wall Street. I realize that we're dealing with people who's demonic in their spirit. But the reason why I can fight is because I believe in a God that's got more power than the demons you got. And if God be for me, it's more than the whole world against me. If God is with me, and if God is with you, you can defeat the wiles of the devil. All you got to do is hold on. It's dark right now. I just went and helped bury 10 people in Buffalo. It's dark right now. But the morning will come. Weeping may endure for a night. But if we hold on, if we hold out, if we keep on marching and believing and praying, joy will come in the morning. We come too far to turn around now. We came from slavery. We came from Jim Crow, the back of the bus, all the way to the White House. We never had the wind at our back. We always had to face a headwind. We can't stop now. We got to fight on. Stand up, black man. Stand up, black woman. This is our time to answer history's call. It's our time. It's our time. Though the storms keep on raging. One day is Buffalo. Next day is Texas. Then it's Tulsa. Storms keep on raging in my life. And sometimes, Michael Warren, I can't hardly tell the night from the day. But I keep my eyes on that place he has prepared. Even if the wind keep blowing. In my life, my soul is anchored. Reason why the tumultuous seas don't bother me because I've been anchored. When you got a boat anchored, they can bump up and down on the waves, but it won't go down because my soul is anchored. I can ride the waves. I can take the dips. My soul is anchored in the Lord.
Hallelujah. For the storms keep on raging in my life, and sometimes it's hard to tell the night from day. Still that hope that lies within is reassured as I keep my eyes upon the distant shore.
Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Yeah. I'm opening the doors of the movement. There may be someone that is here in the auditorium that never joined National Action Network. If you're here, there's no better day than to come and join right now. Just come right over to me. Come up to me and we'll sign you up this morning in the National Action Network. You that are watching on television or listening on radio, you can join online or you can call 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. But come on, look at them coming to join. Come on. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Everybody's singing. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. We won't just got to have justice. We want justice. One more time. One more time. One more time. All right. All right, I'm gonna move quickly. We're gonna be out. It's 11. I'll tell y'all 9 to 11. We're gonna be out 10 minutes over. But we're gonna raise our offering. Then I'm gonna take in the new members, and then we're gonna dismiss. And you that wanna fist bump with one of us can come up and do that. This is not a meeting. You fist bump and keep going. Don't ask me if I remember your aunt from South Carolina 30 years ago. Don't ask Judge whether or not he was right ruling against you in a divorce 21 years ago when he first started. Just fist bump and keep going. All right, let's raise our offering real quick. I want everybody to give to the best of their ability. Don't make me beg, I got company. Act like you in 1 Corinthians. They just run up and throw money at the revolver. I want y'all to act like that this week. All right, I need about 10 people, about 10, that'll give $100 or more to come quickly. Anonymous envelope, $200 from Anonymous, okay. Reverend Walron, $100. Stephen Marshall, $100. Guardians, $100. Winston Gilchrist, $100. Membership, $300. Come up here a minute. One of Curry Weiss. He's one of the Central Park 5, $100. Judge Attorney Smelkin, $100. Bertha Ewing, $100. All right. Now I want y'all to know I waited till I got my 100 spot announced it. I don't want y'all to put your money back. Judge Greg Mathis, $1,000. All right, come on, 50s, 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 50s. Come on, come on. If you need to give us, Brother David, if you want to charge it, you can go to the desk, we'll charge it. We take everything but Ghetto Express. Brother Mallory, $50. Minister Carolyn, $50. Ollie Ewell, $50. My friend and brother, Louis Papa, $150. Brother Anthony, $50. Brother Sam, one of Johnny McCann's students, St. Luke Baptist Church. All right, now 20s. 20s. Reverend Darcy in the house. Sister Kristen Dudley, $50. Now everybody, whatever you have, $1, $5, whatever you have. Let's take in our new members, bring our new members forward.
Stand right here, please for us. Stand this off.
All right, when I call your name, raise your hand. Odessa Gray, Diane Watts, Oscar Johnson Jr., Monette Smith, and Kristen Melton. All right. Well, we are so happy and thrilled that you stepped forward today and joined the organization. We want you and we need you. We want your ideas. We want your participation to the degree you can. This is Brother Griffith standing right there behind you. He's the head of the New York City chapter. They will give you orientation, let you know what committees are here, where you can work and help. We meet every Saturday morning. I'm here. We're thrilled that you stepped out and join our Justice family. Turn and face the audience and welcome them to the National Action Network. Give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. All right. Well, one of the things that we've tried to do, you know, I believe in historic tradition. 1966, Dr. King went to Chicago around the open housing issue, and he appointed Reverend Jackson the Chicago director of Operation Breadbasket, which was the economic arm of SCLC. The national director was a minister in Atlanta. And a year later, in '67, he made him the national director a few months before he died. And Reverend Jackson used to have Saturday morning gatherings at Chicago Theological Seminary, where he had dropped out of seminary. And they eventually moved to church. And when I joined Operation Breadbasket in Brooklyn in '68, the year King died, I was 13. I was 12, and I was 13. They made me youth director. Reverend Jones used to have Breadbasket in the fellowship hall every week. So when I started NAN 31 years ago this March, we never missed a Saturday having a Saturday rally. And we always wanted, when we were on Madison, we was at the school, we wanted it on the ground. I tell folk all the time, if we move from here, I'm gonna look for something on the ground, storefront. People can roll out the street and come. I don't want no cathedral, because people get intimidated by that. I'm not trying to build a church. I'm trying to build a move, and then you got tens of thousands listening to us on radio and on television. That's the model. You know, everybody run around. You know, I met a guy in Buffalo talking about I'm the next Al Sharpton. I said, well, this one ain't finished. But he's looking at what he thinks is Al Sharpton. He wanted Al Sharpton on MSNBC, or Al Sharpton at the White House. He don't know the Al Sharpton at the House of Justice every Saturday. We need always to build movements from the ground up. And that's why I loved what A.T. was saying. You got to learn this stuff. I was youth director of Breadbasket and the head of the youth movement. I worked 20 years for anybody that knew my name. 15 years, didn't even know enough to know anybody was supposed to know my name. I didn't know we were supposed to be known till I got older. And if you put in the work, you'll get the reward. If you look for the reward, you won't get it. But if you work not looking for it, you'll get it because you deserve it. And that's what I tell our new members. All right, let us all stand. Oh, man. Sing great. How sweet the sound that but we shall rise, never to fall again. Up, you mighty race, we can accomplish what we will. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Fist bump with the one next to you, come fist bump with me.